Yaffee program on WVNN.
I'm sitting here thinking because, President Donald Trump is going to release the alien files. Will we call it the alien files, the UFO files, whatever it is? I don't know. He's going to release the alien files, but I'm sitting here thinking, what might be my favorite alien movie? I got to say, I want to know what you think. I know, very random question, but weigh in on our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. What would be your favorite alien movie? There are a lot of good ones. I love a good alien movie. I think, and as one of our listeners had a reference to before, I think Independence Day is a good one. Now, a lot of people don't like Independence Day because they say it's unrealistic, which, I mean, when you have an alien attack like that, of course it seems unrealistic. But did you know, this is very this is very nerdy, I guess, but I saw this online recently. Did you know that there is a deleted scene from the movie Independence Day that explains how, what's his name, was able to make the computer virus? Because people are like, how can you make a computer virus for alien technology? And apparently there is a deleted scene where he figures out that aliens are basically using binary code for their technology as well, digital code. And so that's how he was able to make the virus. And they deleted that scene from the movie. It really actually explains it better, makes it a little more realistic. I think there were actually 2 deleted scenes in regard to that. All right, enough of that. You're listening to the Yaffee program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Coming up on the show, at the bottom of the hour, we'll speak with Brad Presnall. He's a political consultant. He wants to talk about Tuberville's recent comments against AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AK, as I call her. Before that, we'll get to the Alabama headlines with the bullet points. Later on, I guess we could talk about the alien files. Believe it or not, I think what Barack Obama said, and I don't say this very often, I think what Obama said was right. The fact that all of this came from people online taking something that Obama said completely out of context is kind of funny to me. But what he said in the beginning is probably correct. So we'll talk about that. Also, we have to talk about the fact, and Tuberville had some good comments on this, transgender violence. Is this becoming a trend? Seems like it is. So we'll get to that later on as well. And Walker is here. She's going to do What's Trending for Friday. Walker, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. I would like to comment on my favorite alien movie.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
It's called Paul, and it's a comedy alien movie.
I feel like I've heard of this. Paul.
Yeah, it's like,
okay, I'll look that up.
2 science fiction writers going on a trip to all the UFO sites, and they end up having a alien companion along the way.
Somehow I'm not surprised. That does seem like a very Walker movie.
Okay.
It seems like it's right up your alley. Take that however you want.
Okay.
If we're going to do comedy alien movies, I would have to say Mars Attacks. Have you ever seen Mars Attacks?
I don't think so.
The movie is ridiculous, but it's fantastic. I love every bit of that movie. If you want a movie that's actually kind of scary, realistic, War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, that movie is kind of frightening in so many ways, but it's really good.
I'm so glad you didn't say the Ice Cube one. It's so bad.
I haven't seen it. Apparently what is the award for really bad movies? I think it won that award this year. That movie looked terrible.
It was. I have no words.
So you actually watched it? You sat down and watched that movie?
Because a friend of mine and I watched that movie because we heard how bad it was.
Oh, okay. I've heard. It's one of those movies that you watch because it's so terrible. And it really was, huh?
Yes. So bad.
Meet your expectations. All right. All right. Yeah, that War of the Worlds is not good. I'm talking about the Tom Cruise one by Steven Spielberg was the director. That's much better. All right. We do have to update the latest news here. We talked about this yesterday as well, but things seem to be ramping up when it comes to Iran. Trump making it pretty clear that, Iran, you probably want to make a deal or we're going to bomb you into. I almost bombed them into the Stone Age, but their government is almost like a Stone Age government, the way they run things. According to Fox News here, it says what America's most powerful warship brings to the Middle East as Iran tensions surge. So the Pentagon is deploying the USS Gerald R. Ford to the Middle East, creating a rare two-carrier presence in the region as tensions with Iran rise and questions swirl about possible U.S. military action. Now, the Ford will reinforce the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is already operating there. While officials have not announced imminent action, the dual-carrier presence increases the Pentagon's flexibility from deterrence patrols to sustained strike operations. And this is if diplomacy doesn't work. Now, the Gerald R. Ford is the largest and most advanced aircraft carrier ever built. It's a nuclear-powered warship, stretches more than 1,100 feet, and displaces more than 100,000 tons of water. It serves as a floating air base that can operate in international waters without relying on host nation approval, a key advantage in politically sensitive theaters. So, yeah, we're kind of letting them know, hey, we're here. You got to make a deal. You think Iran might have got that message when we bombed their nuclear facility with bunker busters using our B-2s? You'd think then they would be like, okay, maybe they're serious. Apparently not, because you have crazy religious fanatics, and this has always been the problem with Iran. They're crazy religious fanatics. How do you negotiate with crazy religious fanatics? This is the whole point, too, when it comes to Israel versus Hamas. How dare Israel strike Hamas and Gaza so badly? It's a genocide. And it's like, well, what do you want them to do instead? Negotiate. You can't negotiate with crazy religious fanatics in Hamas. And by the way, Hamas is tied to Iran. Crazy religious fanatics in Iran. So all this talk about a deal, I don't even know what a deal would look like. I mean, Trump wants them to completely dismantle any type of uranium enrichment. And Iran doesn't seem to want to do that. In fact, they're trying to build it back up already. So they didn't get the message. Now, Trump did talk about this yesterday. I know he mentioned it during his Board of Peace summit. Go on and play, if you can, Walker. Play Trump Cut 1 for me.
By the way, even people with extremism and preaching extremism, they're exhausted. They're tired. It's been going on for too many years. I don't care who you are. They're tired. They want peace. I've always heard peace in the Middle East is impossible, and it's turned out not to be. And we do have some work to do with Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. And they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they've been told that very strongly.
Yeah, not only have they been told that, but we bombed them last year to send that message. So Trump said that during his Board of Peace thing. He also talked about it with reporters on Air Force One yesterday. Play Trump Cut 2 for me.
I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
You said today on Iran, bad things will happen if
Yeah,
Iran
bad
doesn't
things,
make
really
the
bad
deal.
things.
What will that
I'm not going to talk to you about that.
Okay, can you just let me know, what is the goal if there is a U.S. military
Well, we're
strike?
either make a deal or we're going to get a deal one way or the other.
But with a military strike, is it to wipe out their nuclear
I'm not going to talk to you about that, but we're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
It is a good question, though, because she basically asked, okay, what would be the goal? If we go in and bomb Iran, is it just strategic in terms of we completely get rid of any potential for them to build a nuclear weapon? Or is the goal regime change, where we basically bomb them and set it up where insurgents or maybe the Shah comes back and ends up ruling Iran because the Ayatollah has to defect to Russia if he's not killed. And basically Iran's military is completely obliterated. What's the goal here? That's a pretty good question because it means a lot. You know, when we did the Midnight Hammer bombing, Iran did respond, but it was kind of a weak response. If we do a full-out engagement like this, how strong is Iran's response going to be? Now, I don't think they could strike us here or anything, but we do have a lot of assets in the region that they could strike. How do we do that? So I'm curious what maybe you think about this. I mean, if Trump does this, I have to say I'm not too against it. Because what he said is right. You know, Trump says things sometimes that seem simplistic, but that's because it is. Like when he talks about the border, he goes, you don't have a country without borders. Well, yes. It seems obvious, but some people don't want to believe that, but that's true. Same thing here. You really don't have any peace in the Middle East if Iran has a nuclear weapon. And basically, Iran is the center of most of the problems we have dealt with in the Middle East for a long time. But you can tell me what you think. We have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. We also have people weighing in on their favorite alien movies. Since we're talking about aliens, you can weigh in as well. Somebody said Predator Badlands, which was the new one that came out last year. I actually enjoyed that movie. I don't know if it's as good as the original. If we're going to talk about a Predator movie, the original with Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably better. But you can tell me what you think on that as well. 866-494-9866. All right, in the next segment, we'll get to the Alabama bullet points. Right now, let me tell you about my good friends at Jay's Appliance Outlet. You want to go if you're dealing with a problem, whether it's your refrigerator, whether it's your washer, your dryer, maybe your dishwasher, maybe your oven, your stove, maybe you need a new microwave, but you're kind of like, well, I don't want it. It's too expensive. I don't want to go to one of the big box stores and have to pay so much money to get a new one. Well, don't go to one of the big box stores to pay too much. Instead, go to Jay's Appliance Outlet. They have great prices. They also have great customer service. They can deliver to anywhere in the area, and they service what they sell. So you don't have to deal with this again for a long time. If you have a problem with the appliance in the future, they can help fix it for you. What more do I need to say? I have had listeners personally thank me for telling them about Jay's Appliance Outlet. So go to Jay's Appliance Outlet today. They're located in Athens. You can give them a call as well. Jay's Appliance. What you want to do is dial pound 250. Say the keywords Jay's Appliance Outlet. Pound 250, Jay's Appliance Outlet. Exceptional quality, great deals, service comes standard. Jay's Appliance Outlet. Tell them Yaffee sent you. Got the Alabama bullet points coming up next on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Back here on the Yaffee program. Glad you've joined the show today. Also, a reminder, if you missed any of the show live, well, the podcast up on the website, WVNN.com. Anywhere you get your podcasts. But, I mean, really, you should listen to the show live. All right, let's get to the headlines right now. We have the Alabama bullet points.
Alabama bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, Katie Britt praises the TVA because they changed course from Biden's anti-energy policies. Now, they did this by prolonging usage of 2 coal plants. I also wrote about this at yellowhammernews.com. U.S. Senator Katie Britt praised the Tennessee Valley Authority for its board's decision to extend operations at the Kingston and Cumberland fossil coal plants, describing it as a welcome reversal of former President Joe Biden's anti-energy policies that would have removed 3,800 megawatts of reliable power, enough to supply about 3 million homes from the grid. Now, Britt highlighted the move as supporting an energy dominant strategy focused on domestic production, which is good, and reliability. And she talked about how this is needed right now with expanded usage. Number 3 today, former Secretary of State John Merrill has launched his bid to be the next chairman of the Alabama Republican Party. He says he wants to restore trust in party leadership. Now, there was already trust in party leadership, I think, with John Wall, but okay. Former Alabama Secretary of State John Merrill announced today that he is running for chairman of the Alabama Republican Party. He positions himself as a proven statewide leader, committed to restoring trust, transparency, integrity, and confidence in the party's leadership and operations across all 67 counties. Now, the bid comes after former chairman John Wall resigned last month to pursue a run for lieutenant governor, while Vice Chair Joan Reynolds is currently serving as interim chair and is also a candidate for the permanent role. Now, Merrill highlighted his past experience, but as you know, there are some personal scandals that interfered with his job before, so we'll see if that plays a role again. Number 2 today, Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall, who is also a candidate for the U.S. Senate, wants to make sure that Medicare and Medicaid funds are never used to fund radical and dangerous sex change procedures for children. So Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall led a coalition of 24 states in sending a letter to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, urging the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to permanently stop using federal funds from Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Insurance Program to cover sex change procedures. Now, this includes puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for minors. Now, Marshall emphasized that, quote, Medicaid and Medicare should never have been allowed to use taxpayer dollars to fund radical and dangerous sex change procedures for children. And he supports the Trump administration's proposed reversal of prior policies. Now, the letter highlights evidence from litigation, including issues with the World Professional Association for Transgender Health guidelines. And he's right. Number 1 today, Tommy Tuberville blasts transgenderism's growing role in violence. We're going to talk more about this later on in the show. But U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville sharply criticized what he described as the growing role of transgender individuals in societal violence, following a recent mass shooting in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Now, in that incident, a man identifying as a transgender fatally shot his ex-wife and adult son while also wounding an ex-wife's parents and a family friend at the hockey game. So Tuberville posted on X via his gubernatorial campaign account. He argued that society has zero favors for people claiming to be transgender by indulging their delusions about gender or pronouns, asserting that such accommodation is neither loving nor kind. Instead, he said the truly compassionate approach would be to encourage those struggling to seek help. And he says he hopes it doesn't take another mass shooting for people to wake up to this trend. So the question really is there a trend? We have seen recent spates of mass shootings, mass violence by people who claim to be transgender. Is this because of their transgender issue? Is it related to something else? If you decide, okay, we're not going to buy into the delusion, does that mean you're a hater, a bigot, or whatever? What are the ramifications of this? So I want to talk about that later on, but I want to get your take. Of course, we have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WV. And then Brad Presnall, who does work for Senator Tommy Tuberville, is going to join me next. Might talk about that a little bit. I'm also taking questions, by the way, or taking suggestions on alien movies. Since Trump wants to release the UFO files, everyone's like, oh, it's a distraction from the Epstein files. Okay, whatever. But he wants to release them. And it just made me think, okay, I like a good alien movie. What would be my favorite alien movie? It's got to be Independence Day, right? But what's yours? Maybe E.T.? People like E.T. So you can weigh in on that as well. Right now, I'm definitely going to weigh in on my good friends at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Go to the Madison location off Greenbrier Exit 3. It's next to that big rusty water tower. 18,000 square foot facility, a lot there to shop for. So you walk in, you go to the left of the store, you see their great selection when it comes to firearms, new and used firearms. You can also stock up on ammunition because they always stock up on ammunition. So you can check that out. In the middle of the store, you can see all kinds of other things to buy. Lawn equipment I've seen there. They have clothing, stereo equipment, musical instruments, much, much more for your home. Available at Larry's Pistol and Pawn for great prices. Of course, you look at the right of the store, and that's where the huge selection of jewelry is. And customer service there is great. People are waiting to help you pick out what's right for you. And they'll give it to you for a great price. And yes, you can put jewelry on layaway. And then you walk to the back of the store, and that's where the Larry's Firearm Collection Museum is, which is really cool as well. So go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison today. Another location in Huntsville off North Memorial Parkway. And find out more information at pistolandpawn.com. And when you go, let them know you heard about it from Yaffee. We'll be back in just a sec here on the Yaffee program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure.
Every week on the Stacking Benjamins podcast, we talk personal finance trends.
Not paying attention to the headlines is the strategy proven to work.
One headline, economists fear global recession. Literally the next headline, stocks hit all-time highs, investors optimistic on the future.
They're even doing it to the weather now. 28 million people in the path of this snowstorm. That means 340 million people have got good weather. It's just weather.
Layers, people, layers.
Stacking Benjamins. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM WVNN. You just heard in the bottom of the hour news update, there is some breaking news that the Supreme Court has struck down some of Trump's sweeping tariffs. So I'm kind of looking into this right now. I'll go over some more of the news as the show goes on. This was kind of expected, I think, because basically the Supreme Court's ruling that this is Congress's power. Now, this is only the tariffs through the IEEPA, where Trump declared it a national emergency to do some of these sweeping tariffs. There are other tariffs that he has used other means to get that done, which the president does have the authority. But when we're talking about those sweeping tariffs on all countries, basically done on what he called Liberation Day, it looks like the Supreme Court has struck that down. So we'll talk about that and much more right now on the Yaffee program. Joining me is Brad Presnall. He's a political consultant, does work for Congressman Dale Strong, Senator Tommy Tuberville, and others, also the AEA. Brad, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Yaffee. Good morning.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any comments on the Supreme Court ruling. Obviously, it just happened, but it looks like it would strike down a lot of Trump's tariffs.
I guess my comment would be, since like you said, it just happened and I really haven't had a lot of time to ingest it, kind of thought it might be coming, though. I can just say one or two words. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I mean, yeah, I'll look into it, but it's not all of the tariffs, but it's a lot of them. And it couldn't, screw up things when it comes to some of his potential trade deals. But it could also mean helps the economy, actually, in the big scheme of things. But we'll see. All right, I know one thing you did want to talk about. You do work for Senator Tommy Tuberville, who's running for governor. And I wrote about this at yellowhammernews.com as well. You have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, AK, as I call her. She goes over to the Munich Security Conference. She basically bashes Trump, tries to burnish her foreign policy credentials, and really screws up. But then, of course, you have Marco Rubio, who does a great job. What do you think? I mean, Tuberville basically told her, if you don't like it here, you can leave. So what's your thoughts?
I think Senator Tuberville saying that if AOC hates the country so much she should leave is straight and to the point and spot on. Isn't it funny, Yaffee, how Democrats routinely talk crap about our country, how horrible it is, and how certain groups don't get a fair shake and they've been mistreated, whether it's based on race, class, sexuality, whatever, that the American experiment is grossly wrong and should be reset. But the truth is that if anybody who works hard in America and does their best and tries the best they can to better themselves, they can make it in America. But to them, the definition of making it is a little bit different than you and I may believe it is. Does that mean that you'll have a 10,000 square foot home, 5 sports cars, and $20 million in the bank? No. It means that you have the right and the ability to choose the path that you want to choose. And sure, some people fail. Some people achieve the goal. But most of us are happy to have the opportunity to make a living, being able to provide for ourselves and our family, have dignity, worship as we choose, and live in freedom.
Okay, yeah, that's true. So when we're talking about AOC, do you think that she still could be, like maybe the next presidential contest is AOC versus Marco Rubio?
I think it's very possible. I think if you listen to big Democrat donors like Attorney John Morgan and others, they're basically saying Kamala Harris needs to go away and never come back. Gavin Newsom is a non-starter. They think people like Andy Beshear and Josh Shapiro, governors of Kentucky and Pennsylvania respectively, they may be too sane and too far to the middle to actually get traction in a party who tries to cut anybody off at the knees that at any time says anything that might have some semblance of logic. So AOC is positioning herself to be from the crazy wing of the party, and the party, of course, has gone off the deep end. They went off the deep end 20 years ago. I do think it's very possible that she could, at the very least, be a player and be top 3 once we get down to all the primary stuff in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, et cetera. I think she has a very good opportunity to be one of the last 2 or 3 left on the Democrat stage trying to vie for the nomination.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I came on this too, because it's like, who else is there? And I know people are like, well, AOC's not very smart. And I agree with that, but she's pretty clever when it comes to getting attention for herself and, kind of rallying the base, which helps you in a primary. Now, when I asked Christopher Reed this yesterday, he told me that he thinks maybe she would be a VP candidate, that the process with super delegates and anything, that Democratic insiders maybe wouldn't want her to be the candidate, but so you put her as VP. But then it would be like, okay, if not her, then who? I don't really have an answer for that.
If she was to be the VP candidate, I think the person who would be top of the ticket would have to be as liberal as she is or more liberal. Because let's just use Andy Beshear out of Kentucky, the governor, who is, by all accounts, a moderate Democrat, if there is one. He would not put her as a running mate because she would try to undermine him every opportunity she had with the wacko wing of the party. So unless Bernie Sanders decides to run and he's top of the ticket, then I think he obviously would pick AOC. I think they have a connection and they go everywhere together. I've heard they go to Walmart up there together. So they're big buds. So other than that, I mean, I'm like you, Yaffee. I think she's clever. I think she's smarter politically than people give her credit for. Obviously, she's an idiot when it comes to foreign policy. But she's basically fooled the electorate into believing that she's, Jenny from the block, so to speak, and a cheap low bartender that doesn't make any money, that comes from the wrong side of the tracks, when the truth is that she comes from a very exclusive area. Her parents were well-to-do. She had access to money, and she's basically playing a part. So she's to be not overlooked, that's for sure.
Sorry, I'm just picturing AOC and Bernie Sanders taking a trip to Walmart. And what are they complaining about the selection? Why do we need this many toothpastes? Why do we need all this selection? Jeez Louise. All right, I'm speaking with Brad Presnell, political consultant. I'm just the conversations. There's a bit there. AOC and Bernie Sanders walking through Walmart. I just can't even imagine. All right, something we got to talk about here in the state of Alabama. We have someone who has jumped in the race to be the next Republican Party chairman, John Merrill, deciding he wants to run. He said he wants to restore trust in the party, which to me is almost like a shot against John Wall. I thought there was trust in the party, but what do you think?
Well, I think when people jump in a race like that and they're from the outside looking in, they have to say something like that. I don't know if he really means that, but it makes for a good soundbite. I do think him jumping in the race does jumble the group a little bit, because I do think he will get some support, or he wouldn't be jumping in. You know, he's a really good politician, that's for sure. And he did do a good job as Secretary of State. But he does have some personal issues that he would have to overcome. But I don't think people should discount him, that's for sure. Scott Stadthagen and the drama surrounding him and the legislative leadership in the House, I think that muddies his entry into the race somewhat. But that remains to be seen how much. I mean, we'll see going forward. There's some things probably going to happen. I'll just leave it at that moving forward, that may open up things here in this race. And current interim chair Joan Reynolds, I think she has especially strong support from the women in the party. She's probably the favorite right now, but there is some thinking that she could be vulnerable, or we wouldn't be seeing three others get in the race. So party politics, Yaffee, is hard to predict, that's for sure. And the alliances that these cliques have within state parties, and it's not just Alabama, it's nationwide. Every state party has cliques and alliances and friendships, and everybody tries to get their person in, and it basically gets down to numbers. I do think, though, when we're looking at this thing as a whole, I think when they find out who leaked to the media the audio recording of Speaker Ledbetter during the private caucus meeting, and they find out who that is, that could affect this Algot chairs race, because if whomever leaked it happens to be associated with any of these candidates, obviously that affects everything party related, as well as House business moving forward.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, because you have Nathaniel Ledbetter, Speaker of the House. He's doing a closed-door meeting with his members, who are also Republicans, and they were talking about whether Stadthagen could stay the majority leader while also running for the ALGOP chairman. And it was leaked. He kind of cussed. It was out of context. But, Ledbetter said that's a betrayal of all the members. So I guess things could get a little heated in that regard.
Yeah, and I don't believe the speaker is playing. I think he's deadly serious about this and holding the loyalty and the pledge of keeping things in-house. When you go on these caucus meetings, nothing's supposed to leave that meeting. I mean, you're under a mindset of what I hear in here stays in here. And you're talking about business of the House and of your caucus. And if you don't have loyalty and trust, you don't have anything. And I think the speaker understands that, and that's why he's so fired up about this. And, try to put yourself in his shoes. I mean, how would you feel if the same thing happened to you? So I don't think anybody can blame him for being pretty upset about this and trying to find out who did it, for the simple reason you would just want to know who you can and can't trust. And I think that's not out of bounds. I think that's something that, again, most of us would want to know.
Speaking with Brad Presnell, political consultant. Were there any of the other races that you wanted to comment on? Lieutenant Governor, Senate, any congressional races that have caught your eye this week?
Yeah, I think it was interesting, Yaffee, that J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, came out in support of Congressman Moore also to piggyback on the president supporting him. I can't remember that happening in recent memory where the president endorsed somebody and then the vice president comes out a week or two later and endorses. So that was kind of strange to me. I think obviously it's welcomed by Congressman Moore, but it was a little strange. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I don't know. I kind of thought it was just like, oh, well, the president's doing it, I'm doing it. But it sounds like what you're saying is that maybe Barry Moore is a little more vulnerable, even with that Trump endorsement. So that means the VP comes out and does it, and he's trying to get all the help he can get. Is that kind of where you're going with this?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it may be it. And also, we've seen the articles come out over the last week about in Alabama right now, could Katie Britt's endorsement actually hold more water than the President Trump's would? And that, of course, we all like, wow, that was something. So maybe the Trump's endorsement with Barry Moore is not helping him as much as one would think. He's not running away with the race. I mean, obviously polls come out all the time and take most of them with a grain of salt, but that might be the case that J.D. Vance is trying to just come on and help.
Man, I'm glad you brought that up. I know we only have a couple of minutes here. Can you stay with me for the next segment? Because I wanted to ask you about the Katie Britt Trump spat and a couple of other things. So if you have time, I'd like to take a break here and then talk about that the next segment, because I really wanted to get into that. We'll be back in a moment with Brad Presnall here on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program, making radio great again. I mean, what can I say? That's what I'm doing here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Continuing our conversation right now with Brad Presnall. He's a political consultant, does work for Tommy Tuberville, Dale Strong, Andrew Sorrell, the AEA, and more. And Brad, I wanted to keep you on for one more segment because I really wanted to get your thoughts on this. We had this weird spat, I guess that's why I keep calling it a spat, between Katie Britt and Donald Trump. Now, the White House has denied this. Katie Britt has denied it. I saw that John Wall came out and said it's fake news. But then Trump ally Laura Loomer came out and said, no, it's absolutely true. And that's Donald Trump apparently behind the scenes basically said that he's had enough of Katie Britt. She's dead to me. And this is because she had a criticism when Trump posted that video that accidentally had a part that was pretty racist against the Obamas. Tim Scott had a criticism of that as well. Apparently there's some other reasons behind the scenes. But what do you think? Do you think this is fake news, or do you think maybe Trump said that, maybe off the cuff or something? He's been very complimentary of Katie Britt in the past, so it was kind of surprising. What do you think?
I don't know if these reports are true, Yaffee, but you're right. Trump has historically reacted strongly when Republicans break ranks publicly. Senator Britt did criticize the White House publicly over the video, so we know that is true. But she had to have known that if she did that, it could rub the president the wrong way. I think probably the best move would have been to not say anything publicly and just make a call to the president and keep her criticism private. But obviously, if Senator Britt and her team deny that there's any trouble between her and the president, and that is true, then we won't see any change in how the president and the White House deals with the senator moving forward.
Yeah, it just shows how politics can be pretty petty sometimes, which we were talking about earlier as well. But also, I think they need each other. Like, I think obviously being an ally of Trump helps Katie Britt in Alabama. But I think Katie Britt, working for him in the Senate, she seems to have a lot of influence in the Senate, even with Democrats. I think that helps Trump in the long run. And Trump is a lame duck, but Katie Britt's probably going to be around for a while. So it just seems to me not smart politically for them to fight over something when really they're useful allies for each other.
I agree, and I think when Senator Tuberville leaves the first of the year to become Alabama's next governor, and that elevates Senator Britt to our senior senator, she will have 2 years to work as our senior senator with President Trump and the White House and the Trump administration. So she'll have to take the lead on a lot of things that right now Senator Tuberville takes the lead on. So, yeah, she needs to have a good relationship with the president. I think the president also needs Senator Britt. He has said publicly, he's stated this more than once, that if the Democrats somehow take control of the House and the Senate and gain a lot of power in the midterms, that they're going to come after him. They're going to try to impeach him. They're going to try to slow down legislation or completely stop it. And he's going to need Senator Britt and his side and his corner to help fight that. So this fight or this possible dust up between the two really helps neither side.
And what did you think? You had mentioned it in the last segment, but there was one pollster who said a Katie Britt endorsement might mean more than a Trump endorsement for candidates in Alabama. Do you buy that?
That's hard to believe. It is hard to believe. I think anything's possible, though, with the president coming up on the midterms where people kind of get down on him. And, it's like I just said a minute ago about losing seats in the House and the Senate in the midterms. I don't know about that. That's why I brought it up. One thing, I saw it and I'm like, really? I mean, I know she's popular and she endorses people and it helps them raise money and get their name out there. And obviously, if you're in Alabama and you're running for something, to have a Senator Britt, a Senator Tuberville endorse you, that's a good thing for you. And also a lot of our House members. I know if I was running for something locally, I would definitely want a Dale Strong endorsement, a Senator Britt, a Senator Tuberville, all that I could get. So it was an interesting piece, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wonder about this. Usually I would say probably list of important endorsements would be Trump, then Tuberville, then Katie Britt. But Katie Britt and Tuberville are pretty close. Yeah. But it's hard to believe the average voter who maybe doesn't pay attention except in the big elections, that they're going to know Trump much more than the other two. So we'll have to see. Brad Presnall, political consultant, joins me every Friday on the show. Brad, I appreciate you staying a little bit longer with me because I definitely wanted to get your take on that. And I know we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, Yaffee.
All right, there you go. So coming up next, kind of shifting gears a little bit. Wasn't planning on talking about this, but obviously big news. The Supreme Court has struck down a lot of Trump's tariffs. Why did they do that? I'll give you the details. It's breaking news, so we'll get to that here on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
This isn't your average podcast.
Do you like party?
I do like a huge chug of tequila.
The Howlerhead whiskey bottle chug in front of Dana White. That was the first time we ever went to LA. We somehow got into a Diddy party. What's an Elon Musk house party look like?
My parties generally have very high production value.
This is Full Send.
I do want to do a lot more pranks. Bunch of different pranks.
Join the party.
Jack Doherty in the house. Feeling good, man. What are we going to talk about with Will Smith?
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Shout out to Theo Vaughn.
It's been entertaining, dude.
The Full Send podcast.
Grab the boys, grab the beers. Let's do it.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
The Yaffee program on WVNN.
Well, if you've listened to this show for any period of time, you know that one of my biggest criticisms of Trump was his Liberation Day tariffs. I was not a fan. And that's because a tariff is a tax. And I didn't think this was the right time to tax consumers, basically, or businesses or whatever, for protectionism. But the other criticism has always been that there was always going to be a chance that the Supreme Court was going to strike this down. I mean, even if you're a Trump fan and even if you support the tariffs, it was always a pretty big stretch to suggest that what he did, just to declare a national emergency, to basically implement tariffs on all countries in the world, that was always going to be seen as a stretch. And there was always a chance the Supreme Court was going to strike that down. We knew the fight was happening. So we'll talk about this, get your reaction as well. I am not against all tariffs. I will admit as well that the tariff regime has not been as bad for the economy as many people predicted. But we'll get into this. You are listening to the Yaffee program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. All right, let me get to the breaking news. You heard it at the top of the hour as well. because Fox News had the update, but I'm going to read it from the Wall Street Journal. They have a pretty good breakdown here. It says the Supreme Court strikes down Trump's global tariffs. The ruling finds President exceeded his powers by imposing duties without clear authorization from Congress. Now, just before I get into it, there are a couple options for Trump here. And I'm sure they've been thinking about this for weeks because they probably saw this coming. But the options are he can get authorization from Congress, but the Senate would have to blow up the filibuster to get that done. Or he tries to re-implement a lot of the tariffs using other authority, other presidential powers, which might not work for all of the tariffs he's implemented, but some of them. Now, the problem we have now, and apparently Brett Kavanaugh, one of the Supreme Court justices, said this is going to be a big problem, big mess, is a lot of the tariffs are going to have to be paid back. How that works, I don't exactly know. But according to the Wall Street Journal, says President Trump's global tariffs are illegal. The Supreme Court ruled Friday in a stinging repudiation of a signature White House initiative. Now, in a 6-3 decision written by Chief Justice John Roberts, it removes a tool of diplomatic pressure that Trump has aggressively wielded to remake U.S. trade deals and collect tens of billions of dollars from companies importing foreign goods. Now, the ruling didn't directly address whether the government will have to pay back the tariff revenue it has already collected. Now, this is the first time the High Court has definitely struck down one of Trump's second-term policies. In other areas, the court's conservative majority has so far granted Trump broad latitude to deploy executive power in novel ways, but a majority of the justices, 3 conservatives and 3 liberals, said he went too far in enacting his most sweeping tariffs without clear authorization from Congress. Now, 3 conservative justices, though, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh, dissented. And by the way, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito are probably the most conservative justices, which is interesting. Now, the case involved 2 categories of tariffs. Trump imposed one category virtually on every country in the world to repair trade deficits. Now, he imposed the other set of tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, saying those countries are responsible for the flow of illegal fentanyl into the U.S. Now, the court rejected Trump's argument that a 1977 law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, implicitly authorized both groups of tariffs. So Roberts, as I mentioned, wrote the majority opinion, said, had Congress intended to convey the distinct and extraordinary power to impose tariffs, it would have done so expressly. Now, the White House has not responded as of yet. The decision rebuffed an extraordinary public pressure campaign that Trump had mounted against the court while it was hearing the case. Yada, yada, yada. It says the ruling will likely prompt the White House to try to reenact the tariffs using other legal justifications. The administration does have other laws it can rely on, but those laws have procedural constraints and may not allow tariffs as expansive as the ones the court struck down. Now, the president also could seek explicit authorization from Congress to reimpose the sweeping tariffs, though that route appears politically unlikely. Like I said, they'd have to blow up the filibuster. So Kavanaugh, though, in his dissent, it's kind of weird. You don't see a lot of dissents where it's just Kavanaugh, Alito, and Thomas, but here you go. Kavanaugh, in his dissent, said refunding tariffs already collected could be a mess with significant consequences for the U.S. Treasury. Now, companies have already filed hundreds of protective lawsuits seeking to preserve their ability to claim refunds from the government for tariffs they have already paid in the event the court struck down the levies. Now, the tariffs before the Supreme Court constituted a large majority of Trump's duties. Over the next decade, the tariffs the president imposed through his claims of emergency powers have expected to raise about $1.5 trillion. That's according to the Tax Foundation, representing 70% of Trump's second-term tariffs. Now, this is kind of what I would think, and this is all a part of his Liberation Day tariffs, where he announced a general 10% tariff on imports from virtually all countries and steeper levies on those the administration deems to be bad actors on trade. My guess is that 10% tariff is going to be the hard one to reenact. That a lot of the tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico, and maybe a couple other countries, he'll be able to reenact other ways. Although I guess he has to pay back some of the other ones. But the 10% tariff is going to be hard to do. Now, what's interesting about this, too, is Trump has been declaring victory on this front on the economy, saying it really has lowered the trade deficit. But when you look at the annual trade report, it is true that our trade deficit did go down. How much did it go down, though? 0.2% in 2025. That's not a big decrease. Look, here's the thing when it comes to me and my position on tariffs and trade. I have never understood, other than just pure politics, I don't understand the obsession with trade deficits. There is a thinking that a trade deficit inherently means that the United States is losing somehow. But that's not the case. We are getting something from it. We are getting something as a part of the trade. The fact is, a trade deficit is not a sign of a bad economy in the United States. It's just not. In fact, it can be the opposite. A lot of times, trade deficits go down when we don't have enough money. Consumers don't have any money to buy things. When trade deficits sometimes go up, then that's because the American economy is doing well, so consumers have more money to buy things, and they buy things from imports overseas. So if we look at trade deficits alone and try to judge an overall health of an economy based on just a trade deficit alone, it's a bad way to look at things. Yet there has been this obsession with this for a long, long time. But what we really should look at then, because the goal, and it's a lofty goal. Oh, it's a lofty goal. I will say it's a lofty goal from Trump and many Republicans and even some Democrats to increase manufacturing output in the United States. Because there have been a lot of manufacturing jobs that have gone away and some go overseas, and we want to bring some of those back. And really, we learned that lesson during COVID. We realized that too much of our supply chain is reliant on China and countries that are not necessarily our allies in a lot of ways. And so it's good to maybe bring some of that back so we're not as reliant on them in an emergency. I totally understand that. I totally get it. It's a national security issue. The question is, how do you measure that appropriately beyond just a quote-unquote trade deficit? And what is the best way to accomplish that? Do you accomplish it through higher taxes? I mean, you have higher taxes in the United States, and it just hurts the economy. This is a tax. I have always said, and Trump has done some of this, if we're going to have tariffs, I have said that we need to lower taxes on Americans. And Trump did a lot of that, which is really good. We still have too many taxes here, but he's at least lowered it some. And I have a feeling a lot of you have already noticed that with their tax refund this year as a part of the big, beautiful bill. But really, we have to look at one of the main causes that companies went overseas to begin with. Now, yes, the main reason a lot of them go overseas is cheap labor. We like the cheap labor. And now, that's why a lot of companies hire illegal immigrants, cheap labor. I get all that. But I don't think it's the only cause. The fact of the matter is we've seen a lot of manufacturing grow where? In the South. In Alabama. Why is that? Because it's a much business-friendlier environment. One thing that Trump, as president, has done very, very well is deregulate. He has added a lot of deregulation into the overall economy to make business more productive. He's been very good at that. His regime, especially his second term, has been very good, and we can give some examples later. In order to do that, that will encourage businesses to manufacture, come back, and base themselves in the United States. You can either work with a carrot or a stick, and Trump mostly has worked with a stick, because he wants tariffs, and this is going to force him to have to work more with a carrot through deregulation, tax, and everything else. And we need a strong rule of law. The fact is, a lot of companies would probably still rather base their operations in the United States for several reasons. But we have to make it a business-friendly environment, which is another reason why, by the way, kind of tying things together here, that it is a terrible idea to start unionizing everything in Alabama. This move to unionize, say, Mercedes, which luckily was not successful. Unfortunately, they were able to unionize a plant in Tennessee, in Chattanooga. That hurts it. And that kind of stuff is really why a lot of companies just move overseas. Because they're just done. It's too hard to do business here. So the real goal has to be, okay, how do we make it easier to do business in the United States so less companies want to go overseas? Now, there are going to be a lot of things where we just are not going to produce it as well here as overseas. Coffee is an example of that. Bananas is an example of, different foods. But there are other examples as well. So I'm curious what you think about this. I think Trump had to have known this was always a possibility. In a way, it could be doing him a favor because you're going to now we're going to see a lot of the economy start rolling again. That was kind of restricted by tariffs. But it is going to be a mess. And some people think it's not good for the future of the economy because they want more manufacturing here. I'm very curious what you think about this. You can tell me. We have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. We'll talk about that. We have a lot of other stuff to get to here on the Yaffee program, what's trending at the bottom of the hour as well. We'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
It would be kind of ironic if the economy really does start to boom after the Supreme Court ruling striking down his tariffs, and that really just helps Trump and Republicans in the midterms. I mean, I don't know. It'd be kind of funny if that happens, or if they still would blame Trump. I have no idea. Welcome back to the Yaffee program. I am Alabama's voice of reason, Huntsville's conservative conscience. By the way, I got to talk about this story. I had it in my Alabama bullet points. Actually, a couple of stories in the bullet points on this issue. If you missed it live, the podcast is up of that segment. But Tuberville says this. He says, our Senator, Tommy Tuberville, is going to be our next governor. He says, hope it doesn't take another mass shooting for people to wake up. So I'm reading this from our good friends at 1819 News. It says, following the latest mass shooting committed by a transgender individual, U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville issued a blunt assessment regarding the growing trend of violence. According to the lawmakers, society is doing zero favors for those claiming to be transgender by indulging their delusions. He says, we are doing so-called transgender people zero favors by pretending to go along with their delusions about their gender or pronouns. That's what Tuberville wrote on X. He said, it is not loving or kind to tolerate this behavior from people who are clearly struggling. The loving thing to do would be to encourage these people to get the help they need. By the way, I'm pretty sure that Tommy Tuberville listens to this show. I just have to say, I'm pretty sure, because that's what I've said. There is this, and unfortunately some Christians do this, but there is this common theme among those who support the radical transgender agenda that the loving thing to do is to just indulge them. And if you don't, they might commit suicide. I mean, that's the argument. But there's no proof of that. I'm sorry. There is no proof of that. The studies suggest that that is absolutely not true, especially when you're talking about children. But what's happened here is we've had recent mass shootings where people who are mentally ill, also transgender, there are red flags all over the place, but they're scared to mention the red flags because, well, they don't want to be called a bigot. And also those who are delusional, they get extra angry when you don't go along with their delusion because, well, our culture has said that's what you're supposed to do. How dare you not call me by my proper pronoun? Does this mean that every transgender individual is going to turn violent or something? No, of course not. But this is a trend at this point. We can't just ignore it. So Tuberville is right. Now, he said, I hope it doesn't take another mass shooting for people to wake up. Now, the fatal shooting Tuberville referenced occurred last week at a hockey game in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, when a man who identified as a transgender shot and killed his ex-wife and adult son. The shooting also wounded his ex-wife's parents and a family friend. Now, we know that the propaganda press hasn't covered this nearly enough, and they should have. The good news as well, though, in Alabama, at least we're trying to do something about it. At least At the very, very least, one, we're banning it on children, which is great. But two, we need to make sure the government isn't funding this stuff. Now, the question I have for you, if you're listening right now and you can weigh in on our text line here, do you think we've kind of turned the tide a little bit? There are two areas where I almost think that the conservative movement has turned the tide in our culture. One is this transgender issue. I think people were sick of it. And two is actually climate change. It seems like a lot of the climate change hysteria has gone away a little bit, which is fascinating. We can talk about that later. But the good news as well, the guy who might be our next U.S. Senator, Steve Marshall, has been good on this issue. He led a letter, a coalition of 24 states, and sending a letter to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, urging the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to permanently stop using federal funds from Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Insurance Program to cover sex change procedures for minors. Now, we say a lot of times that, well, if you're an adult, you can do what you want. It's a free country. But we're talking about kids. We have always had laws to protect kids from many, many things because you are just not mature enough to make those decisions on your own or make those decisions, period, when it comes to your future. But there's another angle to this. Just because adults have the freedom, maybe, to have a sex change procedure does not mean that as a culture or as a government that we need to indulge any of this. No. And that means the American Medical Association and some other places need to come out against this stuff as a part of this. Even technically, if that adult has the freedom to do it, it should be common practice to encourage them not to. Yes, even for adults is one of the lessons here. So you can tell me what you think. We have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-986, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. By the way, go to RegenesisStemCell.com if you deal with joint pain. You know, I have family members that have knee issues, hip issues, neuropathy, and I keep telling them what you need to do is go to RegenesisStemCell.com. Make an appointment with Dr. Charles Lee, Regenesis Stem Cell Center, the state-of-the-art stem cell treatment. It works, and I know it works because I had the procedure done on my back. And you might remember, it's a couple of years ago now, but I was back to work the next day. You know, there's no downtime. It's not invasive surgery, but it can still change your life. So go to RegenesisStemCell.com. Make an appointment today. Feel better. When you do, let them know you heard about it from Yaffee. Got what's trending next on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
Mic drop.
You ready? Let's do it.
Hosted by former Navy SEAL Mike Ridland. It's unfiltered.
You know, you go to the sound of the gun, bam, you're gone.
It's weird. I mean, I've had so many near-death experiences.
It's raw.
I love this country. I offered my life to serve this nation and protect its people.
The question, you know, what's the meaning of life? And to me, it just boils down to one single word, which is purpose.
Mic drop. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM WVNN. Glad you've joined the show. As always, you want to like the Yaffee Facebook page, follow me on X at Yaffee or Instagram at Yaffee Live. Walker is here producing, so let's do it. We have What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Sponsored by Coleman Furniture Market, located in the heart of Coleman, Alabama. Want you to go if you need some new furniture, whether it's office furniture, living room furniture, bedroom furniture, and more. They got it for you, and they have the best prices and the best selection in town. And what's really cool, you see their showroom, you see something you like, you're like, I want that. You can take it home after you buy it, or they can deliver it to anywhere in the state. I tell you that because you go to some other furniture stores and they're like, oh, well, that's not available right away. But you're like, what? It's right here. No, that's just the showroom piece. We have to order it. You'll get it in like 6 months to a year or something. Yeah, it's not how it works at Coleman Furniture Market. You get it right away. So I want you to go today, like their Facebook page to see some of the latest stuff, or go to the website, ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. When you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, Walker, what's number 5 today?
So number 5, protein is coming back with Doritos. In a sweet and tangy...
With Doritos?
Yeah, Doritos have made a protein chip in their sweet and tangy barbecue flavor, which is one of my favorite flavors because it's very similar to the sweet and spicy chili flavor.
I mean, I do like their barbecue flavor, and I do like that one, but protein? To get buff, I guess. Lose weight.
Well, protein also is what helps keep you feeling full. And I think that that's why so many snacks have tried implementing it.
But then you don't want as many snacks. It's a terrible business strategy. No, I get it because they're trying to be healthier because that's a big thing right now. But, I mean, I don't know. Is it going to cost more? Like, if I'm in the store and I see Doritos and then Doritos with protein, I'm just going to get the regular one if it's cheaper. I don't know about you, Walker.
It depends on what the difference ends up being. They aren't listed for sale just yet.
Oh, okay. I know the other thing, too, is, like, they're getting rid of some of the dyes. So they're coming out with, like, a Cheetos that tastes the same, but it's, like, naked.
I have tried those. It is...
Oh, you have?
They taste just the same, if not better.
Really? Okay. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. As long as it tasted the same. I know it's kind of weird. It's kind of like when you have purple ketchup when they had that.
Yeah.
It technically tastes the same, but there's just something weird about it.
Yeah, because I had the Flamin' Hot naked Cheetos, and it's so weird for something to look so normal but be so spicy.
Yeah, they have Flamin' Hot. I didn't know they had the Flamin' Hot ones. Where did you get it? Is it just at any store?
It was just at Walmart.
Is it less messy?
It still has like a coating on it.
Okay.
It's just not bright red.
See, I don't know. That's what I would want. Something that tastes the same but doesn't make a mess on your fingers or something. That's what I think. All right, what's number 4?
Number 4, Tide has released a new innovation. Is their Evo tiles. It is a lightweight, pre-measured format with 6 layers, thousands of microfibers of soap that allow water to seep in between, so it dissolves almost immediately when you start the washing machine.
So, what's the benefit of this? I mean, the fact that you don't know, that's not a good selling point. I'm just saying.
It says you're getting all the stuff you need for a clean load of laundry and none of the stuff you don't.
Oh, okay. It's almost similar to the naked Cheetos thing, but for laundry.
Yeah, I guess it is.
It's like, not chemicals or something.
Says lighter, faster, simpler, and provides a superior clean.
Okay, and what is it called again?
Evo tiles.
Evo tiles. I'm going to look this up because it came up here. Evo tiles Tide. All right. I just want to see. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's basically what we've been saying. They're trying to get rid of the plastics and stuff because you have the pods. It's like got a plastic film over it.
Yeah,
and I guess there's a lot of concern about plastics and everything.
Yeah, I'm assuming that that's the deal, and the packaging that it's in is also recyclable. Seems to be a like cardboard type packaging instead of the jug or the plastic Ziploc that the pods are in.
Okay, there you go. Interesting. My wife would totally buy something like this. She's all about it. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3, the grandson of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups inventor has accused Hershey of cutting corners with cheaper ingredients.
Like recently or just?
Very recently.
I mean, they probably are. Let's be honest here.
He says,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
He says that he had to throw out Reese's Valentine's heart-shaped candies, noting that they were inedible, and in the ingredients, instead of saying milk chocolate and peanut butter, it said that it was made with chocolate coating and peanut cream.
Chocolate coating and peanut cream. And that's different than what they used to have, is what he's saying.
Yes, because for something to be able to be listed as milk chocolate, it has to have a certain percentage of cocoa, as well as like milk solids and all that.
Wasn't there like a chocolate shortage or cocoa shortage like a couple of years ago? Is that why, I wonder?
I don't know about a shortage, but it said high cocoa prices has led Hershey's and other companies to experiment with using less chocolate.
Yeah. Had a feeling that's what it was, but if you're going to do that, you better make sure it still tastes pretty good. Because, you know, those traditional brands are already not doing as well as they once did. So you don't want to scare away even more people. But, I mean, this will get some publicity.
Oh, definitely.
Although I didn't have any of those chocolates. Now I want to go and test it. You know, for science, not because I want to eat a bunch of chocolates, but just for science to test it. All right, what's number 2?
Number 2 is there have been viral videos of Punch the Monkey, a young Japanese macaque monkey at the Ichikiwa City Zoo in Japan.
Oh, I saw. This is like a little tiny monkey.
Yes, and he's been carrying around an orangutan plush toy for emotional support after he was abandoned by his mother, only 6 months old.
Oh, I did see this video. The cute little monkey with his cute little monkey toy. Is that basically what the video is?
Well, that's how people are reacting to it. They became attached after videos of him being bullied were circulating. And that people were able to rejoice after he finally found some friends, though he still gets scolded by other monkeys because he's still learning the rules of the group.
Oh, man. I mean, the moral of that, other than, oh, look at the cute little monkey with a cute little toy. Other than that, the moral is they act, they're very similar to us, because that's exactly what would happen to a kid in school now. If he's carrying around a little toy monkey, he's going to get made fun of by the other kids on the playground.
Yeah, and the toy is available for purchase at IKEA for $19.99.
Oh, that is... Well, I guess it already existed, but it's smart for IKEA to mention that, put that video out there so everybody wants to buy it.
Yeah, that I kept seeing that at the end of articles is, oh, you can get this at IKEA. Which
By the way, I don't know if that... I know that's not on what's trending, but IKEA going to open soon.
Yes, it opens on February 25th.
Yeah, when they first announced that it was going in that particular place, I was like, is that going to be big enough?
It is much smaller than traditional IKEAs.
Right, but it's still pretty big and still has some of the usual IKEA stuff, I think.
Yes, and I look forward to trying the meatballs.
Yeah, I'm sure you look forward to the traffic that's going to exist in that area when it first opens.
I am worried about how busy it'll be.
Yeah, I mean, it'll die down eventually, but the first couple weeks are going to be pretty great. And that's already a pretty busy area, I think. So, I used to live like right next door to that, so I can't even imagine. All right, what's number 1?
Number 1, in Florida, a pizza shop called Buck's Coal-Fired Pizza has reportedly used iguana in toppings. It went viral in an Instagram video when a friend brought him a couple frozen iguanas, which happens when the temperature drops below 40 degrees.
Right.
For those that don't know, they become paralyzed to conserve energy and tumble from the palm trees, and people will literally just go by and pick them up.
Yeah, but he killed the iguana and put it on a pizza?
Well, yes.
Because just so everyone knows, the iguana's still alive.
Yes.
When they fall off trees. That's the whole thing. They freeze because they're cold-blooded and they kind of freeze, but when it warms up, they're alive and they run away.
Yeah, they are an invasive species in Florida. The owner was saying that they burrow in all the banks, that they're just generally a problem there.
Okay. I mean, do people like it?
It
iguana meat? Is it good?
It is supposedly similar to frog legs.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
It is being called the Everglades pizza by the owner, but Florida Man pizza by everyone else.
Well, it's definitely Florida Man Pete. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I like gator tail. I probably, though you're right, it's probably more similar to frog legs.
The pizza shop does have venison and alligator as well. He has had 25.
You bring your iguana to this place, he'll make you a pizza.
Yeah, he's had 2,500 calls requesting it since the video went viral.
Dear God, I do like how people are like. Because I was reading the article too, how people are like, "This is the most Florida thing ever." Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now I grew up in Florida, but I grew up in Orlando. There were not really iguanas in Orlando. There were a lot of lizards. It's amazing when I moved up north. I'm like, where are all the lizards? Oh, that's not a normal thing? Not have lizards running around everywhere? Okay, interesting. All right, thanks, Walker. I appreciate it. We'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. I am Alabama's Truth Czar. This is Huntsville's Disinformation Board. We have the government shutdown stuff that's still going on, just the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. And one of the demands by Democrats is that ICE and ICE agents, they can no longer wear masks when they're out in the field. Now, they say it's so they can be held accountable, prevent them from doing anything bad. My response would be, accountable for what? I mean, and who holds them accountable? It seems like the mob would try to hold them accountable, which is the problem. But also, I mean, it doesn't seem like Democrats are willing to make a deal on this as of yet. Now, Tom Homan, who's Trump's border czar, doing a really good job. He was up in Minneapolis earlier, but he was on Fox News today talking about it. Go ahead if you can, Walker. Can you play the Tom Homan cut for me?
Members of Congress want to abolish the Department of Homeland Security that was established after the tragedy 9/11, right? And they want to abolish the agency that enforces the laws that they wrote. We're going to be dealing with the Biden open border for decades. I mean, this is why we're out in full force in sanctuary cities. We got over 10 million illegal aliens that were released in this country without proper vetting.
So, I mean, he's exactly right there. But, you know, when it comes to this masking thing, and it's funny, I'm looking up, I'm trying to look up on Google, like, some more info on this story, and it's like, it's kind of hard to find. Like, Google is not, there are not a lot of places are covering this, but this is kind of a big deal. Okay, I have some of it from the Washington Examiner. An ambulance was apparently stolen and driven into a DHS office in Idaho. Now, if you haven't heard about this story, it's because not a lot of places have covered it, honestly. But this to me, and the reason why I want to talk about this here, this is why ICE agents have to wear masks. I'm sorry, because the fact is, because of the rhetoric out there, calling them Gestapo and everything else, the attacks against DHS and ICE are way, 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 way up. And so if you're wondering why it is they think it's necessary, it's not because they're trying to prevent accountability. It's not because there's some kind of secret police. It's because of stuff like this. So here's the story. An unidentified person stole an ambulance from a hospital in Idaho on Wednesday and then purposefully drove the vehicle into a building where the Department of Homeland Security was leasing offices. Now, no people were reportedly injured in the attack, and the suspect is still at large. Let's see if there's an update on that, if they have caught the suspect. So the Meridian Police Department said that the unknown suspect stole the ambulance from St. Luke's Meridian Medical Center on Wednesday. The person then rammed it into an office building where DHS is leasing office space. The suspect then tried to light the vehicle on fire by pouring gasoline and another accelerant, but he did that before running away, so he was unable to do that. Now, I do want to play another cut here real quick to just show you how serious this pretty much is. Meridian Police Chief Tracy Bastacara commented on this. Go ahead and play that cut for me of the police chief.
The suspect then drove the ambulance directly into the North Portico building, which houses Department of Homeland Security offices. Investigators believe the suspect poured an accelerant inside and around the outside of the ambulance. At this time, it appears the suspect was unable to ignite the accelerant before being scared off by responding agencies. We want to emphasize that this was a serious criminal act. There has been a lot of rhetoric surrounding the Department of Homeland Security leasing office space at this location, and comments on social media such as property damage isn't violence is absolutely false. This was absolutely an act of violence, and if the suspect had not been interrupted, there is no doubt this building would have been burned, putting the lives of first responders and others at risk.
It's sad he even has to say that there, but there are some leftists out there who try to claim that, well, you're just damaging property. It's not really violent, and, DHS kind of deserves it. It's not violence. It's just a protest. Come on, people. Obviously, if you're vandalizing property in such a way and putting people's lives in danger, especially first responders there, yeah, that's violent, okay? But this is an example, and maybe that's why it's not being reported a lot. But attacks like this against Department of Homeland Security related to immigration and ICE have gone way, way up. And this is only the latest example, and because he wasn't as successful as he wanted to be, doesn't mean it's not a big deal. And this is why ICE, they have to wear masks. And even if, let's say the Democrats get their wish and they can no longer wear masks while they're out in the field, is that going to stop them from doing their job? Of course not. Democrats are not going to all of a sudden be happy and say, okay, we're okay with ICE now. So let's say they pass this and they can't wear masks. Do you honestly think that all this rhetoric around ICE and immigration is going to stop? No, they're going to want to target all the people that may be arrested an illegal immigrant, and then they get doxxed and their lives. It's all about intimidation. It shouldn't be that way in this country. We should just support federal law enforcement. And as Tom Homan said, these are laws that Congress wrote. So if you don't like the laws, you can change the laws, but those are the laws that are in place. But that, just an example, another example this week, right there, act of violence against DHS, apparently over ICE. And this is why, because of these kind of attacks and the rhetoric that's out there, this is why ICE agents have to wear masks. We covered a lot on the show, and I have a feeling we're going to see even more breaking news when we get back on Monday. We've covered the latest with Iran, the latest with Trump's tariffs, the latest with Alabama news and politics, John Merrill jumping in the Alabama Republican Party race, and a lot going on today. So if you missed the show, the podcast is up. I'm sure the Vince Show, they'll do a great job covering national news next. Right Side Radio, get back to that Alabama news in the afternoon and much more. You're listening to the Yaffee program. Hope you have a good weekend. Thanks to Walker for producing today. And I'll be back Monday, same time. See you then.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
It's the biggest game on the planet, and nobody breaks it down like Jim Rome.
Super Bowl run. Who do you think will be the last one standing this year?
Fearless debate and the best callers in sports.
I don't care what you say, defense wins Super Bowl.
That defense absolutely is Super Bowl caliber. The quarterbacking sure as hell wasn't.
He's the Spitfire of sports smack.
A lot to get to, and I'm not sure you're going to like all of it. Honestly, I don't even care if you like all of it or not. I have a job to do.
The Jim Rome Show.
Get up in here.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.